Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, Capital Markets Analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today we have Mary White. She's an author, she's a cook, she's an amazing lady. She is the Cooking with Cannabis Lady. And the name of your book?
Well, there's two of them. My book in 2018 was Everyday Mary J, a practical guide to cooking with cannabis. And then last year with Amazon, I produced the CBD cookbook for beginners, which is basically diet pot. Right? It's an entry book because so many people are scared of THC and getting high, right? But people get that CBD doesn't have that effect and you can get a little bit better. So the Everyday Mary J was expanded. I doubled the recipes to include the CBD. Yay.
That's a gateway for cooking.
It's a gateway to realizing that even though CBD is wonderful and healing, the full plant with THC, that's where you need to be for like really getting healthy. That's what I think.
So you're going to help us break down this Leafly article about the best cannabis strains for cooking. So we're going to kind of briefly dive into some of the strains from some other chefs, and then just in general, regardless of strain, what some practices are.
Okay.
So this article says that there's no shortage of cannabis recipes and cookbooks, and the internet is full of ideas that can inspire you. So whether you're still trying to master the basics like cannabis butter or oil, some have moved on to more complicated recipes like cannabis flower. And so some of the audience may notice that there's rarely do these recipes recommend specific strains to use. And so in order to better understand what types of bud that can be used for infused foods, Leafly is asking that questions, whether chefs prefer specific strains. So there's a couple chefs we'll highlight before we get into your own specific experiences and preferences.
Okay.
There's Chef Travis, who appeared on MasterChef Canada in 2016. He said that Sundial Lemon Riot and Top Leaf Strawberry Cream have a beautiful terpene profile.
Yeah.
And then John Michael McNeil, he's a corporate chef at Zenibus and Namaste, considers terpenes and how they'll affect dishes that he's making. He says that he likes fresh limonene terpenes to complement fresh cut citrus, especially in appetizer dishes. And for baking, there's Pink Kush is great. It's slight bitterness, complements dark chocolate and cacao. And Jack Herer is fresh with bitter and great for savory applications.
Oh my God. Okay. First of all, Josh, what I have been doing for the last 8 years is teaching people how to get cannabis into their food, right? And then, of course, into their system and hopefully heal. I have seen a lot of talk about strain specificity and that kind of thing. The thing that bugs me, and not in a bad way, but that's all really good information, what you're just sharing, right? But I want cooking with cannabis and medicating to be accessible. And I will say that most of us in the real world really don't have access to an ounce of pink foo-foo or lemon la-la, I mean, most people just kind of, okay, I got a half an ounce here of whatever I got at the dispensary for $50. What can I do with it? I love the awareness of terpenes now. And I really appreciate their effect, and people are starting to figure that shit out. And for us, because we're geeks, we're pot geeks. We're like, oh yeah, I love that lemon sherbet when I'm making a citrus forward dessert. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that those terpenes and those flavors aren't important, because they are. But for, Susie in Iowa, who's trying to figure out how to put some medicine in her ketchup for her meatloaf, that shit doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I will obviously say that flavor is really important, and you want to use good bud, because if you use shake, first of all, you have to use 4 times as much, but it's so vegetal. It's so much chlorophyll that it's difficult to get around that flavor in whatever you're making. Again, if you want to get chefy, and I'm all about getting chefy, go ahead and match your strain to what you're making, if you can afford it, and if you want to be chefy. If you do, what I have found is that a lot of the indica dominant strains, the purpley, cushy kind of things, they do tend to be more floral. They tend to have a lot of linalool, a lot of geraniol, those kinds of things. Those I like in dessert applications more. Primarily because a lot of times dessert is last. And if you're using something that's indica forward, you won't be wide awake at 3 a.m. going, God, that was a good dessert. You know what I mean? It'll kind of chill you out a little bit. But also, if you have a special dinner party and everybody's a psychonaut, and wants to get high, go ahead and invest in something delicious. And like you're saying, if you have Jack Jack, I would definitely use that infusion in like a beef stew or something like that. But again, I think as much as I appreciate that terpene awareness and the matching of the flavor profiles, I think in reality, in real life, you just want to figure out how to get some fucking medicine in your food.
I think this is a West Coast article for the most part, because East Coast is fairly behind. There's some catching up required, because most people don't understand terpenes and how that's more of a steering wheel to give you the direction or the effect that you're looking for, whereas the percentages of CBD and THC are just kind of the gas pedal on how fast it's going to get you to that direction. So I mean, case in point to CBD, cooking with CBD for beginners, it's just kind of has to be as basic as possible, because it's already complicated. Creating oil might even be difficult for some people, so they might just buy it and then infuse it without knowing the difference between sativa and indica. There's all these terms and things to think about, and right now it's trying to educate people is difficult.
Yeah, it really is. And what I run into in class, a couple of things. First of all, many people come because they are done with Western medicine. I mean, that's how I got into it, because pills just don't make you better, right? So there are people who are looking for some kind of relief. And then there's, the people who are like, I want to know how to, get 100 milligrams of THC in my cookies, that kind of thing. But for the most part, because of all that propaganda and because of the fear people have, I want to make this simple. So to me, it feels like if you start out with, spend $200 for this amazing ounce and you can make da-da-da, people are going to go, what the hell is a terpene, right? And you're right, in terms of making what you need to make, they have to figure out, the decarb, how long to do it, how much they want to get into their food, dosages. On top of that, I do give them a general outline of terpenes. So when they go to a dispensary, they can see, oh, well, this is going to make me kind of relaxed, but I'm going to feel horny. Awesome, right? That's important. But what we're talking about, us West Coast pot geeks, I think the rest of the country is still going, whoa, it's not heroin, So I love the chefiness, but I think for real people, we got to figure out how to medicate that mustard,
Definitely. Yeah, I think this is definitely for the minority of folks. It's probably 5 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
For strain specifics, as people are just starting to figure out, the difference between indica and sativa. So strains beyond that, and then adding terpenes, and even CBD is, even though it's one of the most searched terms on Google, people still don't fully understand what it does.
Yeah. And they come to class and they're like, I want to get CBD in, and I'm like, now wait. And then you have to explain hemp, sativa, indica. And when I cook in class, I do use a mixture. I use about it's a little bit of hemp for more CBD, and then kind of even indica sativa, right? But especially starting out, that extra CBD in there can kind of help people to realize that even if they have a little too much, it's okay, But I am looking forward to the day when we can all have, a few plants in the backyard, because this is great grandma medicine. This isn't new shit. I mean, terpenes are newer, but you know what I mean? People have been doing this for millennia. So let's just get back to that.
Absolutely. So to your point about using indicas, there's a couple of chefs that prefer that. Chef Danny Raposo, the man behind the Stoner Chef in Canada, says
Yeah.
that he isn't a fan of cooking with sativas. His favorite two strains are Pink Kush and Purple Kush.
There you go.
He usually only cooks with indicas because that's what works best for him and his clients,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, like you said.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with my sleep tracker, my Fitbit, that I hit REM earlier with an indica.
Yeah.
So if I smoke sativa, I don't hit REM until about 2 a.m. Whereas with the sativa, I'll hit REM before midnight.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating looking at sleep cycles between deep sleep, light sleep, and REM using sativas and indicas.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, and honestly,
before bed.
Yeah. I mean, baby, I smoke a sativa and I'm using a Q-tip to detail the car at 3 a.m. You know, I mean, I'm a little hyper anyway. I don't need that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But a little mixed in with your indica gives you a beautiful, like, rounded effect. And I think you just get a little, okay, I'll tell you, honestly, when I first started using this medically myself, I only used indica and I got better really fast. But I also noticed that I wasn't getting much done in the afternoon.
Right.
So I do think strains matter, time of day matters too.
Sure, but simplifying it, there are some chefs that'll cook with any strain. So while most chefs have their favorite strains, everyone that Leafly have spoken to agrees that any strain of cannabis can technically work for cooking as long as it's fresh, quality flower.
Yes.
So Charlotte Langley, a cannabis chef, also the chief operating officer at Scout Canning, said that they're quite flexible in the strains that they use. And for personal consumption, they lean heavily on the CBD strains for relaxation and stress management. But depending on the client that they're working with, the strains can change based on those needs.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And well, like I have a CBD class for pets. Obviously, we just use, beautiful hemp from Ellensburg, Jerry Whiting hemp,
nice.
LeBlanc CNE. So that's, great for the pets class. And between us, a lot of times, if I know people that are coming to class are virgins, I'll make the ounce that we're using higher in hemp, because as much as you tell them to go slow and as much as you tell people to be careful, they're going to go home and eat 2 fucking cupcakes. They are. And then 3 days later, I get an email. Oh, dude.
That's what you meant by overconsumption.
Indeed. Yeah, it's a lesson we've all learned.
I was just at PetSmart or Petco, one of those big companies, getting my 2 puppies' nails clipped. And I saw that they use Hims.
Yeah.
And so it's a shampoo, and it's supposed to, calm your dog down. I'm not sure that shampoo for dogs is, I don't know if it works or not, but I do know that stores sell a lot of CBD for pets during 4th of July and New Year's for fireworks.
Right.
So definitely something. I wouldn't recommend it for a lazy dog owner who doesn't want to walk their dog.
Oh, no.
And there's plenty of those folks.
Yeah.
But there are occasions where you absolutely should be grabbing CBD for either pain or anxiety for your pet.
The little guys.
Right.
Yeah, because they don't know what's up.
Right.
4th of July, that ain't right.
So when considering which strains to use for cooking, some cannabis strains are nearly foolproof. So strains that have fruity and berry-like terpenes, a bit easier to work with than with the flavor and aromas that are already pleasing, and they come through nicely when extracting, like you mentioned, some of those cushes.
Yeah.
And so Chef Cody Lindsay said that strains like strawberry cream and blueberry and mango haze, strains that are off-putting, such as cat piss and cheese and sour diesel, are a little bit difficult to work with their flavor profile, but can still be used in different applications like tacos and pico de gallo.
Okay. Well, that does make sense, actually, because if you are, depending, again, on what you have, whether you grew it or you bought it or you found it or whatever, do pay attention. But I think just by smelling, and again, if it's cat piss or sour diesel, or what did I have the other day? Aliens on Moonshine, which is the best title ever. But then obviously you're going to go, yeah, this needs a more spicy, more depth, more earthy, right? But again, like we were saying, for desserts and even I would say salad dressings, some of those floral strains would be more flavorful. Yeah. But honestly, Josh, a lot of times I don't worry so much about that, because you can also, what I do anyway, is I usually double the other flavors in the recipe. Like if there's lemon zest, you can double it. You wouldn't want to double the juice because then it would be too loose, right? But any of those additives, coriander, chili, all of those, magnify them. And you're still going to get a little vegetal funk, but that's okay because you're using pot.
So that is a big turnoff for a lot of people. They don't like that earthy floral taste, or in a tincture, I've heard some feedback that, if there's too much oil, like if you're using a tincture that's based on, an olive oil type consistency or flavor, people don't like that. And if you're eating an edible and it has any earthy flavor, it immediately turns some people off.
Yeah.
And so is there a happy medium, or what do you do to try and mask that?
Well, if you really are concerned about it, you can decarb a different way.
So real quick, decarboxylation is activating the cannabis by heating it up.
Right. Yeah. That's why we smoke cannabis. You are decarboxylating when you smoke. But if you're not smoking, you do need to remove that extra carbon molecule out of the carbon chain so that the cannabinoids are available. Right. So anyway, you're getting ready to make your stuff. You decarb for half an hour, 45 minutes in an oven, about 250, right? That's great. If you don't want to do that, or if you're really concerned about the flavor, Jerry told me about this. You can take your cannabis, lay it out on a big tray, spray it lightly with water, let it, and this is tricky because you don't want that stuff to mold,
right.
But then carefully let it dry. Obviously not too much heat, not too much light. So I don't know how that's going to happen, right? But anyway, you do this for 4 days.
Oh, wow.
So wet it and dry it, wet it and dry it, wet it and dry it, wet it and dry it. But what that does, apparently, is it gets rid of all that chlorophyll. So you're just dealing with, like, it would be almost like oregano with no flavor, right? So you've got rid of that chlorophyll, that funk, and you're just working with the glorious cannabinoids. Personally, I have never tried it because I don't have the time. And I don't really care that much. But again, if I was doing this chefy stuff, like these, chefy chefs, I would probably do that.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. So shout out to Jerry Whiting for throwing out his abundant amount of knowledge.
He's so smart.
I love Jerry.
I know.
Yeah. So this article says that regardless of which strain you pick up to cook with your next meal, it just comes down to time to eat, and always make sure that you start low and go slow. So what's your experience with overconsumption? Because that is like the quintessential experience of edibles, is that people eat it and then they get those heart palpitations and paranoia, and they freak out, and they call the 911.
Oh my God. I had a lady in class a couple months ago, bless her heart. And this happens a lot to people because they don't know, right? So she and the gals were having a gals night. And so they started with martinis. Okay, first of all, don't do that. Okay, so she's had a little liquor. Then they eat some edibles. Terrible idea. And then she waits 45 minutes. I'm not high yet. So eats the same amount again, continues to drink.
Oh boy.
Oh Jesus. So in another hour, she's calling 911.
Oh, man.
The firemen, they're like, ma'am, you're just high. No, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Anyway, they came to the house, not my house, but they came to her place and they're like, nope, you're just high. Relax. This happens because we're human and we're like, well, that was fun. This should be funner, right? When I was researching Everyday Mary J, I had to try all those recipes, Josh. And there were several times when I had to hang onto the walls and just get to the bed. The great thing about cannabis, it cannot hurt you. You're not going to die. And if you know this intellectually, when and if you do over-medicate, you can go, okay, I just over-medicated. Take off your bra, take off your underpants if you got the fancy ones on, and go to bed. Just relax, go to bed. You're going to be fine in a couple hours. If it's a real issue, of course, if you have some CBD around, that helps. That'll balance everything. Also, if you can chew some black peppercorns, that, because of the beta-caryophyllene, that terpene counteracts the terpenes in the cannabis, right? But intellectually know that you will probably at some point over-medicate. Relax. Try and enjoy it because it ain't going to kill you.
So I know that you go out to Vashon Island for the VIMIA, the Vashon Island Marijuana Enthusiast Association or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of really good events out there. Have you seen from Dr. Ethan Russo or any other guests that Shango has had out there that explains that? I mean, I didn't do very well in biology. So understanding the inverse relationship between CBD and THC, to unpack your comment about how CBD can bring down your high. Do you understand that relationship and how that works?
The thing that sticks in my mind is that back in the olden times, when, in high school when we were smoking pot, it was much closer to I'm going to say old school cannabis, which was much higher in CBD. So when we would smoke that old timey cannabis, because it wasn't bred for the high THC levels, it was much more balanced. And we didn't get these crazy, crazy, crazy highs so much as, oh, I love you. Yay, let's make love and dance in Volunteer Park. Woo, that kind of thing. As far as it, and I read in the latest, I got the new Cannabis Pharmacy book, which is awesome, by the way. And I was reading, but it was really sciencey and I had to put it down. It explains it though in that book. There's something about the balance of CBD and THC. And if you get too much THC, you're just going to go wahoo over there, which you don't maybe want to be. But I'm not sciencey enough to explain it.
Yeah, I just know that a 1-to-1 ratio of THC to CBD is my favorite. I take a 20-to-1 CBD to THC daily so that I'm not impaired per se.
Yeah.
It allows me to reduce the pain and inflammation. It really, really reduces my urge to smoke, which is crazy. The amount of pot that I've smoked this year is at an all-time low, like more than 10 years.
Yeah.
I started taking this Zone-In CBD from Lofa Tatupu, retired Seahawk player.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been taking it for 30 days, and I got to tell you, it saved me a lot of money. I would smoke about 3 or 4 blunts a day as my projects were wait and hold, like hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
And now that they've all kind of come out at the same time, my schedule is busy, so that's good. But I don't even have the urge.
Right.
Like normally I'd be like, okay, now I've got a break. I'm going to go smoke a blunt. Or whatever. That's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I don't even think about it. I take my tincture after I get back from the gym, or I use it before the gym, and then I'll take the gel cap afterwards. And I just don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So my consumption levels have dropped off dramatically.
Right.
And I know that CBD and THC, according to Dr. Ethan Russo, has the entourage effect.
Yes.
So that allows your body to absorb it more. And so there's that, you have more bioavailability, more uptake as your CB1, CB2 receptor cells absorb that THC because of the addition of CBD. But if you guys understand how CBD helps with overdoses, leave a comment. Let us know.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite recipes? You have a book with THC. You just wrote a book about CBD.
Yes.
What's from this older book from 2018? What is one of your favorite recipes?
Well, oh my God, right here, cheesy olive bites. Cheesy freaking olive bites. This is a great example of a recipe that you cannot detect the cannabis at all, because you got salty pimento stuffed green olives. You have this basically butter pastry with cheese. So you bite into them and there's like cheesy, flaky, buttery pastry, and then salty olive. And then, I just had 5 milligrams of THC. I love that one. And honestly, Josh, I'm all about spicy nuts, but I'm all about more than the baked goods, more than the quintessential, cannabis brownie. I want you to have some damn soup, or meatloaf or crackers, put it into everything. And what I found is the savory dishes, I think, do a better job of giving you, I'm going to say, that non-pot flavor. For me, whether it's chili or, some spice, something about the savory dishes, I just think they're more delicious. Plus, when I'm alone in the house after class and maybe there's some cupcakes left over, I'll just eat them all at once. And that's bad for me.
So for a pungent, funky strain like UK cheese, if that was in your cheese bites, that wouldn't really deter somebody.
No, that would be delicious. Yeah. And again, with most of these recipes, when you're making a pound of butter, I use an ounce of plant material to a pound, right? But if you're making one recipe and you need half a cup of butter, you only need 7 grams, right? That's doable. And if you wanted to be super chefy, you could do that. 7 grams here and then 7 grams of something else. Because also what I found, I've done this so you don't have to, if you medicate every damn thing in your meal and everybody's getting medicated, it gets out of control. Like on that TV show, oh, well, we've just ingested 5 milligrams of CBD and 10 of oh, no. At your house, they're going to be eating all the food and everything. And this happened one time. I got up the next morning and there was a man asleep on the sofa.
Oh.
So if you do medicate your dinner party, I always say medicate the appetizer and maybe medicate a little bit if you're serving a beverage. But don't serve too many beverages because cannabis and alcohol is a bad idea.
And I always find it hilarious that, not funny, but the friends of mine that don't consume on a regular basis always are eager to want to grab, my blunt or joint or whatever after they've been drinking. And that's the worst time. But they lose that stigma or whatever, that they're worried about. That goes away after they've been drinking. And it's the worst time to consume alcohol because it exacerbates that effect. It really kind of just takes THC to another level, and it's not a good experience.
No, it's not. It's not. And a lot of people have had that experience and they go, oh, well, pot makes, no, dude,
right.
Don't mix. And again, something we've learned the hard way.
Right. Yeah. We all have to learn that too much tequila is not a good thing.
No.
Just like too much THC. And so you've brought some THC little gummies.
That's your treat, Josh.
So these are what, maybe 7 milligrams of
about,
THC?
Yeah, 5 to 7 each.
5 to 7,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, and they're a little bit higher in CBD because of, my magic mixture.
Oh, you got CBD in here as well?
Oh, yeah. Again, I use indica sativa hemp. So there's, all the goodies. Now those, again, I'm trying to make this stuff accessible, right? So in my second book, the CBD Cookbook for Beginners, which, by the way, all the recipes are better with THC, I'm just saying. But in that one, I give 2 ways to make these. But honestly, you guys, it's Jell-O and Everclear and tincture.
So break it down for us. How do you start making this? You get your flour, you decarboxylate it. You make what, butter or oil?
No. These are made with an alcohol tincture. Okay. And the alcohol tincture, you take the decarbed cannabis, and again, it's 1 to 1. So it's 1 gram to 1 ounce. So say I'm making 8 ounces of a tincture, I'll use 8 grams of cannabis, decarb it, put it in with the Everclear, put it in the freezer for an hour, take it out, shake it like a crazy person for 5 minutes, put it back in for another hour, take it back out, shake it like a crazy person. You have shocked and awed all of the cannabinoids out of that plant material into the Everclear. Now, what you have is basically a flammable, scary product. So it's not something you want to put under your tongue. But the Everclear tincture makes a damn fine gummy. That's the stuff I use to make medicated salt, medicated sugar. You can use it. It evaporates off of stuff, if that makes sense. So you can make coffee with it. You can make all kind of things. And now the other tincture we make in the tinctures class is glycerin based. And that's the one I give to the cat. That's the one you can put under your tongue. But you can't really make a gummy with it because it's bleh. It's glycerin, so it's bleh, as opposed to Everclear.
Yeah, I can't smell any cannabis, and there's no real taste to it. It smells kind of like a cherry or strawberry.
Yeah, it's cherry Jell-O, baby. Now you can do this with plain or actually seaweed gelatin, agar, and fruit juice. I mean, you can do them organic. These are not in any way groovy. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just Jell-O and gelatin and really strong booze. But again, for regular everyday people, You know, if you don't want to go to the hippie store and get the groovy stuff, go to Safeway and get some fucking Jello.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's good to make your own, because at 10 milligram caps in Canada, that's not going to help anybody.
No.
And then 100 milligram caps, you know, in Washington and other states, that's still not enough. You're looking at a high price for still, in my opinion, a low dosage.
Oh, yeah.
So just being able to make your own.
Yeah.
I mean, there's benefits to that.
Well, and I haven't been to a dispensary in a while because I buy too many things. But I have found that, it's worth it, but these are really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mints and gummies and stuff, and you're getting 5 milligrams. I mean, you and I, we get the tolerance, and 5 milligrams is like a deep breath. You know, it ain't nothing. Now, you give me 100, we could maybe have a discussion, you know? So again, if you are a person who uses cannabis medically or regularly for whatever reason, learning how to do it yourself is a huge savings. And then you can make it stronger. Because again, here in our lovely state, even though it's legal, I think it's legal-ish, you know? Because when we had medical, you could buy strong stuff. And now you have to spend lots of money.
You got another favorite recipe?
Yeah. Well, you know, I was kind of talking bad about sweets, but some of these are really delicious. And I make one, it's an orange almond cake, okay? And this is a picture of it as a cupcake, but it's a wonderful cake. And it uses, almond flour, and it's just really moist and savory because of the oranges, right? But this is one where if you had a beautiful citrus forward strain, you could use it in this and in the buttercream freaking frosting. If you ever really want to get really, really high, Josh, this frosting.
I do. I like to get really, really high. Whenever I make my own edibles, I definitely put it in the cookie or whatever, and I make a frosting because I have a higher tolerance.
Me too.
Yeah.
But again, sweetie, this is why I can't have this at home. Recently, we made the orange almond cakes, orange almond. And if you take that frosting and really pump up the orange flavor and put some honey in there, but I ate 3 of them and I was high till Sunday night. So there you go.
Love it. All right, Mary, I appreciate you being on the podcast. How can people get a hold of you?
MaryJWhite.com. It's pretty much the easiest thing in the world, but it's just www.maryjwhite.com. Don't forget the J. I'm everywhere. You know, I don't do much Twittering because it pisses me off, but there's a ton of videos on YouTube. It's Mary J. White 1, Facebook, all the things. But come to a class. I want to see you guys. I want to squeeze you. Yes.
Yep. And all of that will be in the show notes as well. And then hopefully, if you're in the Washington, Seattle area, hopefully you'll be back here at our new maker space where there's a kitchen upstairs. And
yes.
You can start cooking for some folks.
I can't wait.
Awesome.
Thank you, Josh.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. I love to talk to the people. And honestly, you guys, any questions, anything, get hold of me, MaryJWhite.com.
That's it. So I want to thank my guest, Mary J. White, for being with us. She is an author. She's a chef. She's an amazing lady.
I'm an amazing lady.
So with that, we're going to roll this one up.
Okay.
I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Or don't. And I'm out.
Or don't.
Or don't.
Just don't.
And I'm out.